So several years ago, I get a call from the largest defense contractor in the world, and it was the president of the company. I usually deal with vice presidents, regional vice presidents of companies, but the president of the company called. He said, "Look, Steve, I've read your book. I've heard about your critical thinking sessions for leadership teams that you've done all over the world. I want you to come in and talk to me and my 10 top engineers that represent over 100,000 of our employees at the company." So I won't tell you the company's name, I don't have permission. So we get in the session, closed door session, in the president's suite, his office, big office, sat around, and I started it out with the most offensive coaching question that any coach can ask, although it's an excellent question, just to kick off a 6-hour critical thinking session with these 10 or 11, the president plus the 10 engineers. And these 10 engineers all represented roughly 10,000 employees. And pretty big egos, the whole thing, as you can imagine, very smart people, the whole thing. And I said, I'm just going to kick off the session with this question. And just to give you a background, the president was not happy with what was going on with the engineers, the leadership team. These guys are all rocket scientists, literally rocket scientists. But he wasn't happy with the results, so I just opened it up. I said, let me ask you a critical thinking question. Just open up the 6 hours, and here it is. I mean this in the nicest way and the most genuine way, and here's the question I have for you guys. If you guys are so good at what you do, I mean, you're all rocket scientists, you all have 10,000 employees, you work for the biggest defense contractor in the world, you are among the best engineers literally in the world by definition, by your status. If you're so great at what you do, and I believe you are, why are your results so bad? And you could have heard a pin drop. I mean, it was just, the president's jaw just dropped. And literally about 15 seconds probably went by before one of them stood up and said, he actually just kind of leaned forward in his chair, and he said, "Do you know who we are? Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" And I said, "Yeah, I actually do. That's why your president brought me in, because you're underperforming, and obviously you're talented enough not to underperform. So I'm asking you, why aren't your results matching your expertise and your background and your reputation? Because they're clearly not. Why aren't you guys better at what you do? I don't get it. I'm just asking. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just asking questions. That's my job." And about another 10 seconds went by. Another engineer sort of leaned forward and very angrily, and he goes, "Do you understand? Are you an engineer?" And I said, "I am not. I'm an author. Speak on mental toughness. I have to do these sessions." He goes, "Okay, that's really great." He said, "Let me tell you something. What we're being asked to do, okay, with this organization, with our 100,000 employees, it's virtually impossible." Yeah, he shouldn't have said that. That was a mistake. When you get a critical thinking coach in to do a coaching session with you, you don't really want to spar. It's really about you're going to lose. I don't care even if you're a rocket scientist. So he walked right into it. Walked into the tiger's cage, and I had no choice. So I followed up with the second most offensive question you can ask as a coach, and I said, "Okay, I appreciate that response. When you say it's virtually impossible, is it actually objectively virtually impossible, or is it just impossible for you?" I'm just asking. Okay, you can see where this went. This went on for 6 hours. It was a bloodbath. We took a break at about 3 hours in for lunch, and the president kept me back for a second while the engineers left the office. And I said, "Got a little bumpy." That's what happens when you bring in a turnaround guy that does critical thinking question sessions. So you understand where I'm coming from, right? He goes, "This is exactly why we hired you, because nobody in the space that I know of has the guts to stand up to 10 of the best engineers in the whole world." Or what I was thinking was the stupidity possibly, but that's the job. I said, well, that's the job. And it's not to beat them up. So when they came back into the session, if you're a coach, I strongly recommend that you use these techniques, because they're worth 7 figures, because coaches won't do these things. When the guys came back in for lunch, they said, "Guys, look, let me tell you this. Let me explain. I'm not here to bully you guys, okay? I'm not even an engineer. I mean, I didn't even do that well in math. I mean, I couldn't. You guys are brilliant people in what you do, and congratulations. When I ask you these questions that seem like they're provocative, they're actually just objective questions with no emotion attached to them. We call those critical thinking questions. They're emotionless questions. I'm not making any judgments, although it may seem like I'm asking provocative questions as a judgment. There is no judgment. When I ask you if it's impossible, objectively, or is it subjectively impossible? In other words, is it really impossible? Or is it just impossible for you? That's actually a very high level question. I'm not attaching any emotion to it. I'm asking you objectively a question that you need to answer. Because see, if you guys were doing better at your job, you would never see me. By the time I end up in front of you as a turnaround specialist in corporate America, you're in bad shape. Look, I don't have any hiring and firing power or anything like that. I'm just a vendor. Okay, you talk to your president about that. He's the one who hired me. But it's not a good sign once you see me. It means there's trouble in the organization, and I'll leave that to your president to be more descriptive about those details, but that's beyond my scope. But I just want you to know, I'm actually on your side. I'm trying to help you keep your job and run your organization at a higher level simply by asking you guys to ask yourselves these questions. Be introspective, both as an individual and collectively as an engineering team, and you're going to do much, much better. That's why I'm here. I hope you can use some of this as a coach, because it's afforded me a 7-figure coaching career, and I get the questions from a book I wrote called Coaching the 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class. You can't get the book anymore, it's out of print, but you can get it on ebook at IPDAR.org, the International Personal Development Association website, IPDAR.org. It's $12. You can get the ebook if you like the ebook. But all these, there's over 1,000 critical thinking questions that I used in those sessions, as well as many others. And if you want to make up your own questions, critical thinking questions, that's good too. But remember, these questions are not, they sound judgmental, they sound provocative, but they're really not. They're actually very, very high level questions minus emotion. Critical thinking questions.